Hold your horses. No, this video is not about One Punch Man Season 3. If anyone out there has eyeballs and you've unfortunately subjected them to the torture of One Punch Man Season 3, you probably know that not much has changed since the last video I made on it in terms of how disastrous this season has been. But I want to give credit where credit is due. The most recent episode, episode 8, is the first time this season I felt like I was actually watching an animated series. We had a fight sequence with characters that actually moved in this episode. Whoopee! Yeah, we fucking got there, baby. Anything is possible! This is the first episode where the fight scenes actually have motion. There are moments in the flashy flash fight that I think are really good. Is it perfect? No. But compared to the rest of the dog shit we've been fed, this was a gourmet meal of an episode. And I think what this shows, at least to me personally, is that JC Staff can deliver quality at least to the same level they did in Season 2 of One Punch Man, which in hindsight, pretty solid, but Bandai is the reason why Season 3 is so shitty because of lack of budget they were willing to allocate to the season, lack of time they gave JC Staff to work on it. Somehow they still had it be just like rushed out and farted whatever they could get on the table. Even though it's been 6 years since Season 2, I think Bandai is the main villain here that has caused Season 3 to be so awful, so rough. And Episode 8, I think, is irrefutable evidence that JC Staff can deliver good quality animation if they have resources and time to do so, which Bandai deprived them of, just left them fucking emaciated, malnourished with no money and no time to work on it. But I was pleasantly surprised at the quality of Episode 8. The flashy flash fight, I thought, was really solid overall. It doesn't salvage Season 3, like it doesn't redeem it, but it is a nice treat. There's only a handful of episodes left in Season 3, so this is very tardy to the party here. This would be like me finally hitting a growth spurt and reaching 6 feet tall by the time I'm 85 years old. You know, at the ripe age of 85, I'm finally living my dream of being 6 feet tall. But you know, it's a little late. Kind of cool anyway, I guess, though. Point is, I'm glad Episode 8 was good. It's finally a step in the right direction, and maybe I'm just suckling on the supple bosom of hopium. Maybe I'm just latched onto the titty here. But maybe this is a sneak peek at things to come, that the next handful of episodes, it's going to finish on a high note instead of this sad whimper that the rest of the season has been. Probably unlikely, but who knows. What I do know is that we here at Cheeky decided to extend the Black Friday sales offer to today. So today will be the final day for the 20% off of all of our soaps using any creator codes. So go to usecheeky.com right now to get the best soap in the universe at an incredible deal. Anyway, like I said, this video is not even about One Punch Man, but I wanted to mention that really quick. This video is actually about a different anime, one that a while ago I said I didn't like. And I dropped it after like 5 or so episodes. It just wasn't hitting for me. But recently I wanted to give it another shake, another spin, because I've seen perpetual glaze for it, and I thought, let's just really commit to it and let's watch the series. And I really, really like it. Frieren. Frieren is a show that I'm sure you've probably heard of in some capacity because people love this show. And when I initially watched it when it first came out, I just had a hard time getting into it. Like, it was a very nice looking show and it was very comfy and cozy, but I just wasn't getting invested into the world or the characters. But I just keep seeing and have always seen so much praise for it that I just thought, you know what, let's just watch the whole thing, and if it's really not for me, it's not for me, but at least I, consumed the entire thing to know for sure. Which is typically not a philosophy I subscribe to. I think, like One Piece, for example. I, out of spite, committed to watching the entire One Piece series, but it took me like fucking 400 episodes to fall in love with it. I don't think it's reasonable or rational to expect everyone else to go through with that level of headstrong commitment for something that you weren't, immediately loving. I think it's totally okay to drop something after a few episodes if it's just not feeling like it vibes with you. But for Frieren, I just continue to see amazing things. So I said, let's do it. I want to give it another shot, and I'm really happy I did, because this time around, I genuinely thought it was like a masterpiece. I think Frieren is incredible, and now I'm super pumped for Season 2. I think it was such an amazing experience. I don't know what demon crawled up my ass the first time I watched this, but it must have been clouding my vision with sin and folly, because I was a big dummy back then, I suppose. And looking back on it, it's weird because I've never had an issue with slow burn in media, whether it's games, movies, shows. In fact, some of my favorite are more of a slow burn experience, which Frieren definitely is. But I don't know, I guess just initially I didn't get hooked by the concept, and Frieren as a character wasn't someone that I felt I could care about across many episodes. And I think that's probably because the show does something I don't think any other shows I've ever seen have done. It starts you at the end of a hero's journey. Frieren's previous party had just completed the major task, defeating the ultimate evil, saving the world. You as the viewer don't get to see that happen. You don't watch the show that focused on that hero's journey. You are watching the show of what happens next through the eyes of Frieren, who is an immortal being. She is an elf, so the 10 years they spent on that journey saving the world, that's not even a blip on the radar of her overall lifespan. And the way she views the world around her is very distant and removed emotionally, because everything she is experiencing is so trivial in the grand scheme of her never-ending life. Her extraordinarily long life, all of this will be meaningless at some point. So she's very apathetic. There was a comparison I drew on my first watch that I still think is somewhat applicable, where there is a game, an amazing game I played a long time ago on the Xbox 360 called Lost Odyssey, that kind of tackles occasionally similar things as Frieren through some short stories in the game. And I don't know, I think maybe I just got the wrong impression for what the show was really about and where the show was going, because I didn't give it enough of a chance. But I'm just so happy I went back to watch Frieren, because this show really is special. And even the first 4 or 5 episodes this time around, I was a lot more gripped by. And the show does, really gather a lot of steam after you get through, the initial building blocks and the foundation that it lays. My initial impressions of Frieren was that she was just going to be, kind of a generic stoic character and immortal where, everyone she could ever care about will die, so what's the point in caring? Which is something I've seen in other shows where they have, a character that feels kind of like a robot, like an emotionless husk. And I thought that's what they were setting Frieren up to be, where eventually they'd start to crack that shell slowly but surely. She is immortal. Time is very different to her, but she has emotions. She has tons of emotions, and she conveys them in her own way, and she subtly changes as well in her own way as a result of all of her experiences and everyone that she meets. And she starts to have regrets, and she starts to care to learn about these people that she has a party with. So it's a very cool growth to see across the season, and I just think the show is beautifully done. It has action too. It's not just dialogue and doing chores. Granted, a lot of it is them making stops in their journey to do certain things, but the stops are also a really valuable experience too, and they're not boring or anything. I actually think some of the stops are the most memorable parts of the show, with what you get to learn and what comes from their experiences at these stops, where she's collecting grimoires and whatever is payment. It's just unlike anything I'd seen before, and I think my initial impressions were that it was going to be kind of boring, maybe even slice of lifey, so I just maybe didn't tune out and connect with the themes. But going back this time around, man, it fucking hits. Time has always been a very grand, scary concept to me. In fact, 2 of my tattoos are time-oriented pieces, as corny as that sounds. It's just so interesting the things you can play with in this ballpark when it comes to time. And the way Frieren uses it with her, I think is brilliant. The show is just truly a complete package. It is visually breathtaking. I think they've knocked it out of the park with the animation. The emotional beats really resonate with viewers clearly, because it's one of the top rated anime of all time. But even me personally, a lot of the themes that we're coming across, they do hit, and it feels very poignant. It is a well-executed show when it comes to its emotional moments, and its characters, I feel have a lot of depth and are very well fleshed out and established, and it makes you care about them and their journey. And it does also have action, and I think the action is great. I'll probably wait to do a full review on Frieren after Season 2, because it's right around the corner. But for now, I just wanted to put this out here about how wrong I was with my initial impressions of Frieren. This show slaps. I think Frieren is a masterpiece. So I definitely get the glaze now. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's about it. See ya.